Hi folks, today I want to do a review of my Buccaneer Galera. We've just done our first family holiday in this over the Easter bank holiday, having bought the van and took delivery on March the 25th. Just thought that I'd throw up a review. I did check YouTube for a review on the Galera before I purchased it, and there were a couple, but just thought I'd add my take on the van. It's a beautiful looking van. We were the envy of most caravanners. There's a few head turners on the way down to Devon the weekend, albeit at 10 mile an hour in bank holiday traffic for most of it. But I thought I'd take you a little bit deeper into the van, show you the layout, show you the things that work for us. I'm a husband, father, 2 kids, one 4-year-old boy, 7-year-old daughter. We had this van from Newport Caravans. Rob Lynch was very good to us. When we got the van back, I had some problems. It's nearly 2 hours down to Newport from where I live. Rob sent someone up to collect the van, took it away, brought it back. I was grateful for that service. It meant a lot. This is a bit of a review today, but also a report for Rob, because there's quite a few things on this van that, for what the van costs, to me, they're just not up to scratch. But let's talk about the layout, because that's the reason that I bought it. So I'll take you inside. First off, you'll see inside the van you've got this lovely horseshoe table setup, which is far, far better than the fixed bunk beds that break down into a single table. We were away the weekend with niece and nephew. They were tenting it. We were obviously in the van. I think we had the better end of the deal, and it was great that all the kids could sit round this table of a morning without us having to make up our area first. Down the back of the van, you've got the bunk beds themselves. Nice fixed bed there, my little boy. Daughter sleeps on the top. Got a bathroom here, which is nice and spacious. We didn't have this on the last van. It was a real problem for my wife. She likes her privacy, and the kids like a shower at night, which is not always too much fun when it's raining and cold on a campsite. One thing to mention is this van also has a fresh water flush system. I like that, because we always used to run out of the pink fluid, and then I wouldn't have a container to go and fill up with water for the fluid. This is fresh water. The only thing I would have liked to have seen is that they'd built in a concentrate for pink or something, so that it did do the mix. Fresh works fine, but I just think that would have been a nice touch. But my understanding is this is what they do on motorhomes, and it does work really well. The van's also got an onboard water tank. I've tried it, tested it. Don't know when we're really going to use it. I'm never going to travel with the extra weight, and filling the old barrel up once to connect and fill up the internal, and then once to stick on the side. It's the same amount of work, isn't it? So yeah, maybe if I left the wife for a weekend on a campsite, I might do that for her. But other than that, to me, that would have been better space for us personally as a family, because we had fixed bed in our last caravan, and the one thing we've noticed is we have suffered with space. I'd like to talk about the finish on this van, as it had to go back when we first had the van. When it came back, I started looking around. You do, don't you, when you've had something and it's not quite right, you start to sort of double check things. I've found a few things on this van that I think are really disappointing. So whilst I love the layout, I love the features it's got with the auto self-leveling system, I like the Aldi heating, there are quite a number of things that I feel could be better for £32,000. When you think you can get a nice van for £12,000 less than that, you can get a van that's still reasonable and nice enough for 15, half the price of this van. I was expecting this to be your Rolls Royce. You know, I know there's a Van Master brand that's like sort of circa 60,000, but I seriously thought that this was going to be the bee's knees. So I'll just walk you through those quickly. This is also for you, Robs, and the Explorer group, so you can give me your feedback and tell me what you think, because sadly, folks, I've actually reached the conclusion where there's enough on this van that isn't up to my standards that I actually want to return it, and I don't know where I stand with that, because I've owned it for just short of a month. got the Black Horse finance for about 50% of it. But let me just run you through this, and you can by all means tell me if you think I'm being pernickety. Just post on the bottom of this YouTube video. I'm interested in all your comments, criticisms, anything you want to say. Right, so the partition for the bathroom. If we look at the top of the partition for the bathroom, I just find the way that that's been finished, I can't understand why it hasn't got a bead on it like this. It just seems a bit rough to me to have 3-4mm gaps along part of the partitioning. Moving on to the glass cupboard. I presume that should have a cover over it, that screw head, not sure. If we look at the splashback, we've got LED lights on the splashback, but you can see that we've got a selection of lights in the middle there that aren't working properly. Also, likewise, there's supposed to be a strip of lights that run underneath the front of the units, and I've got them on, and you can see that we got about the first 5 or 6 that are working, but then the rest have all failed, which again is a little bit disappointing. I was a bit upset that that wasn't picked up on the PDI, to be fair. This cupboard here, this shelf, we can't get it to fit in properly. It doesn't seem to have quite been cut right at the back edge, and if I hadn't just bought the van, I'd probably trim a bit off myself, but I really think that cupboard should have come in and fitted. Then you start looking at the actual cupboards, and you can see, if you look up here, you can actually see the way the cupboards, they're not actually flush with each other. As I say, yes, I'm being pernickety, but I'm looking around something I've just purchased for over £32,000. Then you look at the gaps here, and the cushions, because this does have the Aldi heating system, the cupboards, sorry, the cushions have got this, I've got like this little rebate, if you like, so they can sit round the build out that allows the heat to come up through the back of the vents. As you can see, unfortunately, if you look at ours, you can see, I mean, this is our first strip out. We've been really careful here, but you can already see the little plastic clips, which are like what you have on your clothes when you buy them from the shop and you pull the new label off. They've started to actually come out of the foam, so in actual fact, if you look down that, it's no longer got that rebate, and when you try to fit it, it stands, you see that it doesn't quite sit right. You've also got those on all the furniture in the front. I'm worried about the longevity of those. I can't quite see how that's going to last. You guys might tell me you've had it on your caravan for 10 years, but if you look at the ones behind here, which at the moment are doing all right, but if you look at these, you actually rub your feet over these and you rest your head on them, because they're the ends of the master bedroom. So I don't know how long that would last before they ended up the same as the cushion we've got on what I call the horseshoe configuration. I was really disappointed with those things. I also found it a bit upsetting because you see the radio has this bezel, doesn't it, that sits around it. The first time I used the radio, I misjudged the button and I just caught the edge of that and fell off. And I was like, oh, right, so that now lives up there like that. You can be pernickety, can't you? You can go on about things, but I've always had Baileys, and I just do believe that the build quality of my Bailey was far better than the build quality that I'm seeing in the Buccaneer. The Buccaneer weighs over 1,800 kilos, so I take on board when people say, well, cupboards aren't like they used to be in the older vans because we're making them with lighter materials, but this is a much heavier van than the van that I've just replaced, and I just don't feel the quality in this van. We've got cushions that on the first outing are losing the rebate in the back of them. We've got LEDs that are missing, and they're actually not going to be the easiest things to fix these because they're actually built into the woodwork, both on the splashback and on under the table. In the bunk bed area, we've also got more bad finish around where the bead meets the roof. And then if you look in the bunk bed area itself, you can see you've got these almost like breathers, and you can see that they're very roughly finished as well. Not what I was expecting for 32,000. When my daughter got in the bunk for the first time, she pulled on this, and you can see how this moves on the side of the bunk. They're all little things, but I'm just not happy. Rob's done his best. Only criticism of Newport Caravans is when I bought the van. I bought it off Mike Lynch, Rob's brother, and I said to Mike, because I had a good look round, certainly there's obviously a superficial look round, so I didn't spot all the things I've just told you. The one thing I noticed is on the external shower flap, which I'm probably never going to use, I noticed that the plastic hinge on the bit that connects to the van was broken. I asked for it to be replaced and I was told it had been done, but if you actually look at this, you can see here, you can see that this hasn't been done. This was bent up when I looked at the van. They've just straightened it, possibly with a bit of heat, and just made it look so, but that's upset me, that has, because that was one thing I was told was delaying me collecting the van, was the fact that part needed to be ordered. Then also, when we were barbecuing the weekend, we also found that on the external barbecue vent, that's also got a broken bracket as well. I mean, how do you feel? You spend this sort of money on a van, you just kind of think to yourself, well, I was expecting it to be first class, but a bit like a supermodel. They say things about supermodels, don't they? Oh, you know, they look fantastic to look at, but once you actually get them undressed, there ain't much to it, and they ain't particularly great. And to be completely honest, if I had to sum up the Buccaneer Galera, I would say, do not judge a book by its cover. Well, over to you, Rob, and Explorer Group. I have toyed with just dropping this off at Explorer, sticking it on the drive and saying, well, come on guys, tell me what you're going to do about it. But in all honesty, I'm hoping it can all be sorted out amicably. Any questions, any feedback, anything that you want to ask me, by all means, drop us a message below and I will get back to you. Thank you for viewing. I hope that some of the information I've given you has been useful. Take care.